the channel where drama sizzles and revenge burns hotter than ever. If you love jaw dropping twists, bold characters, and stories that keep you guessing till the end, you're in the right place. Subscribe and dive into gripping tales of betrayal, karma, and ultimate payback. Get ready for unforgettable moments and satisfying endings, only on Crazy Pepper. Hit that bell and let the drama begin. The alarm screams at 6:30 a.m., and I reach for the pill organizer before I even open my eyes. Monday through Sunday, each compartment filled with my daily cocktail of sanity. Blue ones for anxiety, white ones for depression, yellow capsules for the voices that aren't really there. At least, that's what Dr. Philip Waverly tells me they're for. "Morning, honey," Elena says, already dressed in her sharp navy suit. My wife looks like she stepped out of a legal magazine, which makes sense, since she's one of the top attorneys in our Connecticut suburb. "Did you take your medication?" I shake the pills into my palm, 6 of them this morning. Seems like more than last week, but what do I know? I'm the crazy one. "Yeah, just took them." The lie comes easily. I've been palming them for 3 days now, hiding them in my cheek until Elena leaves for work. Something feels wrong about the fog that settles over my brain 20 minutes after swallowing these things. "Good, Dar." Waverly says consistency is key. She kisses my forehead like I'm a child. "I'll be late tonight. The Morrison case is going to trial next week." I watch her leave from our bedroom window. Elena drives a silver BMW that costs more than most people make in a year. Everything about my wife screams success, from her designer handbags to her perfect blonde highlights. We've been married 15 years, and I still can't believe she chose me, a mid-level IT consultant who works from home in sweatpants. Our kids, Sophie and Max, are already at the breakfast table when I stumble downstairs. Sophie is 14 and has her mother's sharp intelligence, while 11-year-old Max inherited my anxious nature. They both look up when I enter the kitchen, and I catch something in Sophie's expression. Concern, fear. "Dad, you okay?" she asks. "You seem better this morning." Better? That's an interesting word choice. I pour coffee with steady hands, steadier than they've been in months. "I feel pretty good, actually. Want me to drive you guys to school?" "Mom says you can't drive anymore," Max says quietly, "because of your condition." My condition, right. The mysterious mental illness that appeared out of nowhere 2 years ago. Depression, anxiety, possible early onset dementia. Dr. Waverly's diagnosis changes depending on the day, but the pills stay the same. Always more pills. "Maybe we could walk to the bus stop together," I suggest. Sophie and Max exchange a look that makes my chest tighten. When did my own children start looking at me like I'm made of glass? After they leave for school, I sit in my home office staring at the computer screen. I'm supposed to be working on a network security audit for a local business, but the code blurs together. Even without taking this morning's pills, I feel like I'm swimming through molasses. How long does this stuff stay in your system? My phone buzzes with a text from Elena. "Don't forget your afternoon dose. Love you." I stare at the message for a long time. When did my wife start tracking my medication schedule so carefully? When did she start reminding me about pills I've been taking for 2 years? The house feels too quiet, so I turn on the news. A story about medical malpractice catches my attention. A doctor in Massachusetts who is prescribing unnecessary medications to elderly patients. The reporter mentions something about pill interactions, about how certain combinations can cause cognitive impairment that mimics dementia. I turn off the TV and walk to the bathroom where Elena keeps my medications. The pill organizer sits next to her expensive skincare routine, 7 compartments filled with my daily doses. I pick up one of the white tablets and really look at it for the first time. No markings, no identifying numbers. Shouldn't prescription pills have some kind of identification? My laptop is still open in the office. I type the description of the white pill into a pill identification website. The search returns dozens of possibilities. Without the imprint code, it's impossible to know what I'm actually taking. That's when I notice the pharmacy receipt tucked behind my keyboard. It's not from our usual CVS, it's from a small pharmacy across town. The patient name is mine, but I don't remember ever going there. The prescribing doctor is listed as P. Waverly, and the date is from last week. I've never been to this pharmacy. I haven't seen Diana Waverly in over a month. My hands shake as I dial the pharmacy number. A woman answers on the third ring. "Hi, this is David Chen," I say, using my real name. "I think there might be an error with a prescription that was filled last week. I never actually came to your pharmacy." "Let me check our records," she says. There's typing in the background. "Mr. Chen, it shows here that the prescription was picked up by your wife, Elena Chen. She had your insurance card and said you were too unwell to come in person." The phone slips from my hand and clatters on the desk. Elena picked up medications that I never knew were prescribed, from a doctor I haven't seen. Using my insurance, my name, my supposed illness. I hang up without saying goodbye and sit in my office chair, staring at the pharmacy receipt. The fog in my brain isn't from mental illness. It's from whatever Elena has been giving me every morning and every night for the past 2 years. My wife is poisoning me. I don't take the afternoon pills. For the first time in months, I flush them down the toilet and wait to see what happens. By evening, the constant haze that's been clouding my thoughts starts to lift. It's like someone slowly turning up the brightness on a dim screen. Elena comes home at 8 with Thai takeout and her usual concerned smile. "How are you feeling, honey? Did you remember your medication?" "Of course," I lie, watching her face carefully. "Dr. Waverly's pills always make me feel so much better," and she relaxes slightly. "Good. You know how important it is to stay consistent with your treatment." We eat dinner while the kids do homework upstairs. Elena talks about her day, about difficult clients and court proceedings, and I nod in all the right places. But I'm really studying her, the way she keeps glancing at me, the way she seems to be waiting for something. "You seem more alert tonight," she observes. "Did you get good sleep last day?" "I guess so." I take a bite of pad thai and watch her reaction. "Actually, I was thinking about making an appointment with Dr. Waverly. Maybe it's time to discuss adjusting my dosage." Elena's fork pauses halfway to her mouth. "Adjusting how?" "Maybe reducing some of the medications. I've been feeling pretty stable lately." "David, you know that's not a good idea." Her voice carries that patient tone she uses with difficult clients. "Remember what happened last time you missed doses? The paranoia, the confusion." "I don't remember any paranoia or confusion. I remember Elena telling me I'd been paranoid and confused, but my actual memories from that time are frustratingly vague." Another side effect of whatever cocktail she's been feeding me. "You're right," I say. "I should trust the doctor." After dinner, Elena goes upstairs to help Max with his math homework. I use the opportunity to search through her purse, which she left on the kitchen counter. Buried beneath her wallet and car keys, I find a small prescription bottle. The label reads Risperidone 2 mg, with my name as the patient, but the prescribing doctor is listed as P. Waverly, and the pharmacy is the same one from the receipt I found earlier. Risperidone. I look it up on my phone. It's an antipsychotic medication used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. The side effects include drowsiness, confusion, difficulty concentrating, and memory problems. I've never been diagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. My hands are shaking again, but this time it's from rage, not medication. I take pictures of the prescription bottle with my phone, then carefully put everything back exactly where I found it. Elena comes downstairs 20 minutes later. "Max is all set with his homework. Are you ready for bed?" "Actually, I think I'll stay up and work for a while. I'm feeling pretty focused tonight." She frowns. "You know how important sleep is for your condition. Dr. Waverly specifically said." "What exactly did Dr. Waverly say?" I interrupt. "About my condition, I mean. I've been having trouble remembering our last few appointments." "David, we've discussed this." Elena sits down across from me, her expression shifting to professional concern. "Your memory issues are part of why you need to stay on your medication. Dr. Waverly explained that without consistent treatment, your symptoms could worsen significantly." "What symptoms exactly?" "The depression, the anxiety attacks, the paranoid thoughts about people trying to hurt you." She reaches across the table and takes my hand. "Honey, I know this is frustrating, but you have to trust that we're doing what's best for you." "We." She said we. "When did you and Dr. Waverly first discuss my treatment plan?" I ask. Elena's hand tightens on mine. "What do you mean?" "I mean, when did you first talk to him about my medication? Was it during one of my appointments, or did you speak with him separately?" David, you're starting to sound paranoid again. This is exactly what Dr. Waverly warned me about." She's deflecting, which means I'm asking the right questions. I pull my hand away and stand up from the table. I think I will go to bed, I say. You're right about needing sleep, but I don't sleep. I lie in bed next to my wife, listening to her breathing and planning my next move. Elena thinks she's been slowly poisoning me into compliance for 2 years, but she's made a crucial mistake. She's underestimated how much fight I have left in me. When I'm certain she's asleep, I slip out of bed and go to my office. I spend the next 3 hours researching everything I can find about Dr. Philip Waverly, his medical license, his practice history, his educational background. What I find makes my blood run cold. Dr. Waverly graduated from the same law school as Elena, 2 years ahead of her. There are photos from alumni events showing them together, including one from just 3 years ago, where they're standing very close at what appears to be a reunion dinner. They know each other. They've known each other for years. I dig deeper, searching through Elena's social media accounts and old email addresses. Most of her accounts are locked down tight, but I remember the password to an old Gmail account she used to use for personal correspondence. The email thread I find is from 6 months before my symptoms started. The subject line reads, "Our discussion from last night." Elena's message to Dr. Waverly reads, "I've been thinking about what you said regarding David's behavior. You're right that he's become increasingly difficult to manage. If there was a medical reason for him to be less involved in household decisions, it would make things much easier for both of us. Can we discuss options?" Dr. Waverly's response, "There are several medications that could help with David's apparent anxiety and mood issues. Why don't we schedule a consultation?" I sit back in my chair, staring at the screen. They planned this. Elena and her old law school friend conspired to sedate me into submission so she could have more control over our marriage, our finances, our children. But why? Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I never thought it was bad enough for Elena to resort to this. I keep reading through the email thread, and the answer becomes clear. Elena has been having an affair with Dr. Waverly for over 3 years. The medications weren't just about control. They were about making me incompetent enough that she could eventually leave me and take everything, including custody of the kids. The final email in the thread, sent just 2 weeks ago, makes me want to put my fist through the computer screen. David's getting worse, which is perfect timing. I've already spoken with my divorce attorney about filing for emergency custody based on his mental health issues. Dr. Waverly's documentation will be crucial for proving he's unfit to care for the children. We should be able to finalize everything within 6 months. They're planning to destroy my life, take my children, and steal everything I've worked for. But they made one critical error. They forgot that underneath all those medications, I'm still the same person who built network security systems for a living. I know how to gather evidence, how to cover my tracks, and how to plan for every possible contingency. Elena and Dr. Waverly want to play games with my mind? Game on. I don't take any pills for the next 3 days. My head clears more each morning, like someone is slowly removing layers of thick gauze from my brain. By Thursday, I feel sharper than I have in 2 years. The difference is so dramatic that I wonder how I didn't notice it before. But then again, that's probably the point of the medication cocktail Elena's been feeding me. Elena notices the change too. She keeps asking if I'm feeling all right, if I've been taking my medication consistently, if I need to see Dr. Waverly for an emergency appointment. "You seem agitated," she says Thursday morning as she's getting ready for work. "Are you sure you took your pills last night?" "Positive," I lie, watching her apply lipstick in the bathroom mirror. I feel great, actually, really focused. Focused on what? Work stuff. I'm thinking about taking on some bigger clients, maybe expanding my business. Elena's lipstick pauses mid-application. "David, you know that's not realistic right now. With your condition, what if my condition is getting better?" I interrupt. "What if the medication is actually working and I'm stable enough to take on more responsibility?" "That's not how mental illness works, honey." She turns to face me, her expression patient but firm. "Dr. Waverly has been very clear that your symptoms will likely worsen over time without consistent treatment. This feeling of clarity you're experiencing could actually be a manic episode." "A manic episode?" "Of course. Elena has an explanation for everything, doesn't she?" "Maybe I should call Dr. Waverly myself," I suggest. "Schedule an appointment to discuss how I'm feeling." "I don't think that's a good idea. You know how phone calls can trigger your anxiety." When did phone calls start triggering my anxiety? I make business calls every day, but I don't argue. Instead, I nod and let Elena think she's still in control. After she leaves for work, I get serious about evidence gathering. First, I set up a hidden camera in our bedroom, a tiny device I order online and disguise as a phone charger. If Elena and Dr. Waverly are having an affair, I need proof. Next, I start recording our conversations. My phone has a voice memo app that I can activate discreetly. Every time Elena mentions my medication, Dr. Waverly, or my condition, I capture it. The breakthrough comes on Friday afternoon. Elena calls me from work, and I make sure to record the entire conversation. Hi, honey, how are you feeling today? Pretty good. A little tired, maybe. Did you take your morning medication? Yes, just like always. Good. Listen, I spoke with Dr. Waverly today about your recent mood changes. He's concerned that you might be developing resistance to your current dosage. He's concerned? Did you call him, or did he call you? There's a pause. I called him. As your wife, I have a responsibility to monitor your mental health. How often do you talk to Dr. Waverly? David, you're starting to sound paranoid again. This is exactly the kind of thinking that worries us. Us, there's that word again. I'm not being paranoid, Elena. I'm asking a simple question about my medical care. Dr. Waverly and I communicate regularly about your treatment plan. He's been very generous with his time given how complex your case is. Complex how? Your resistance to treatment, your denial about your symptoms, your tendency toward paranoid thinking when you're not properly medicated. Elena's voice takes on that clinical tone she uses when she's building a legal argument. Dr. Waverly says this is common with patients who have your particular combination of disorders. What disorders specifically? David, we've been through this. Major depressive disorder with psychotic features, possible early onset dementia, and anxiety disorder with paranoid ideation. I've never been diagnosed with any of those things, at least not by any doctor other than Philip Waverly. I think I should get a second opinion, I say. The silence on the other end of the line stretches for nearly 10 seconds. A second opinion about what? My diagnosis, my medication, all of it. David, that's not necessary. Waverly is one of the most respected psychiatrists in the state. Getting a second opinion would just confuse things and potentially disrupt your treatment progress. What if I wanted to disrupt my treatment progress? Then you'd be making a very dangerous decision that could put yourself and our children at risk. There it is, the threat I've been waiting for. Elena is already building her case for why I'm an unfit father. I would never put our children at risk, I say. Not intentionally, no, but without proper medication, your judgment becomes impaired. You become unpredictable. Remember the incident at Max's school last month? I don't remember any incident at Max's school, but then again, there are a lot of things I don't remember from the past 2 years. The medications have turned my memories into Swiss cheese. Remind me what happened, I say. You showed up to his parent-teacher conference completely disoriented. You couldn't remember the teacher's name, you kept asking the same questions over and over, and you became agitated when she tried to discuss Max's academic progress. It was embarrassing for everyone involved. This is the first I'm hearing about any of this, but Elena's description is so detailed, so specific that it's hard to argue with. Did I really do those things, or is she lying? The point is, Elena continues, your condition affects more than just you. Sophie and Max need stability, and they need to know that their father is getting proper medical care. Of course, you're absolutely right. Good. I'm glad you understand. I'll be home late tonight. I have dinner with a client. Can you handle getting the kids fed and ready for bed? Sure, no problem. And David, please take your evening medication on time. Dr. Waverly specifically said that consistency is crucial right now. After Elena hangs up, I sit in my office reviewing everything she just told me. The conversation was like a masterclass in gaslighting. She managed to make me question my own memories, threaten my relationship with my children, and reinforce my dependence on medication, all while sounding like a concerned wife. But she also gave me valuable information. She's having dinner with a client tonight, which is probably code for Dr. Waverly. And she's clearly been discussing my case with him in detail, despite the fact that I haven't had an appointment in over a month. I spend the afternoon researching patient confidentiality laws. What I find is interesting. It's illegal for a doctor to discuss a patient's medical information with anyone, including spouses, without explicit written consent. I've never signed any such consent form. That evening, I feed the kids dinner and help them with homework, just like Elena asked. But I also do something else. I ask them about the incident at Max's school. Hey Max, do you remember when I came to your parent-teacher conference last month? Max looks up from his math worksheet. You didn't come to my parent-teacher conference, Dad. Mom said you were too sick. Are you sure? Mom mentioned that I was there and seemed confused. No, Dad. You definitely weren't there. I remember because I really wanted you to meet Mrs. Henderson, but Mom said your medication was making you too tired to go out. Sophie looks up from her history book. Dad, are you okay? You've been asking weird questions lately? What kind of weird questions? Like asking us about things that didn't happen. Mom says it's because of your memory problems. I feel a chill run down my spine. Elena's been lying to me about events that never occurred, then telling our children that I have memory problems when I don't remember them. She's not just gaslighting me. She's training our kids to participate in the deception. Do you think I have memory problems? I ask Sophie. She hesitates, glancing toward the stairs as if checking to make sure Elena isn't home. Honestly, Dad, you seem more like yourself this week than you have in a long time. You're more present, I guess. Like you're actually listening when we talk to you. What do you mean? For the past couple of years, it's been like talking to someone who's half asleep. You'd nod and say the right things, but your eyes looked kind of empty. This week, you seem more awake. Out of the mouths of babes. My 14-year-old daughter has noticed the same cognitive improvement that I've been experiencing since I stopped taking Elena's pills. That night, after the kids are in bed, I wait for Elena to come home. She arrives at nearly midnight, claiming her client dinner ran late. Her hair is slightly messed up, and she smells like men's cologne. How was dinner, I ask? Productive. We made good progress on the case strategy. Elena kicks off her heels and heads straight for the bathroom. I'm exhausted. Let's go to bed. While she's in the shower, I check her purse again. This time, I find something that makes my hands shake with rage. A hotel key card from the Marriott downtown. The same hotel where Dr. Waverly's medical practice is located. Elena wasn't having dinner with a client. She was having sex with the doctor who's been systematically sedating me for 2 years. I photographed the key card and put it back exactly where I found it. Then I go to bed and lie next to my cheating wife, planning her destruction. Tomorrow, I'm going to start fighting back. Saturday morning, I tell Elena I'm going to the library to work on a project. Instead, I drive to the Marriott downtown and have a conversation with the desk clerk. A $20 bill and a story about my cheating wife gets me exactly what I need. Confirmation that Elena Chen has been renting a room every Friday night for the past 6 months, always accompanied by the same man. Tall guy, dark hair, drives a black Mercedes, the clerk asks. That's him. Yeah, they're regulars. Always pay cash, always leave early Saturday morning. I thank the clerk and drive to my real destination, the office of Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a psychiatrist I found through my insurance company's website. Dr. Martinez has excellent reviews and, more importantly, no connection to Elena or Dr. Waverly. I'd like to schedule an emergency consultation, I tell the receptionist. I think I may have been misdiagnosed. Dr. Martinez can see me that afternoon. I spend the 2-hour wait researching everything I can find about the medications Elena has been giving me. What I discover is terrifying. The combination of pills she's been feeding me should never be prescribed together. The interactions between them can cause exactly the symptoms Elena has been describing to our children and friends. Memory loss, confusion, disorientation, and cognitive impairment. Dr. Martinez is a small woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a direct manner. She listens without interruption as I explain my situation, show her the prescription bottles I found in Elena's purse, and describe the cognitive changes I've experienced since stopping the medications. Mr. Chen, she says when I finish, what you're describing is extremely serious. These medications, taken in combination, could cause significant cognitive impairment in a healthy person. Do you have any history of mental illness? None. I've never been diagnosed with anything beyond occasional stress from work. And you say, Doctor, Waverly prescribed these without your knowledge? My wife has been picking them up from a pharmacy I've never visited, using prescriptions I never knew existed. Dr. Martinez makes notes in her file. I'd like to run some blood tests to see what's currently in your system. I'd also like to do a full psychiatric evaluation to establish a baseline for your actual mental state. The blood tests take 20 minutes. The psychiatric evaluation takes 2 hours. Dr. Martinez asks me hundreds of questions about my mood, my thoughts, my family history, my relationship with Elena and the children. Mr. Chen, she says when we're finished, based on this evaluation, I see no evidence of any mental illness. Your cognitive function appears normal, your mood is appropriate, and your thought processes are logical and coherent. If you are truly suffering from the conditions, Dr. Waverly has diagnosed, I would expect to see significant symptoms even after a few days off medication. So I'm not crazy? You're not crazy. But someone has been giving you medications that could make you appear crazy to outside observers. Dr. Martinez prints out a copy of my evaluation and hands it to me. I'm going to report this to the medical board. What Dr. Waverly has done, if your suspicions are correct, constitutes medical malpractice at minimum and possibly criminal attack. I drive home with Dr. Martinez's evaluation in my glove compartment and a plan forming in my mind. Elena thinks she's been playing chess while I've been playing checkers. Time to show her how wrong she is. That evening, I suggest we have dinner at our favorite restaurant, the same place where Elena and I had our first date 15 years ago. She seems surprised but pleased by the romantic gesture. You seem different lately, she says over wine. More like your old self. I feel like my old self. Maybe the medication is finally working. Dr. Waverly will be so pleased to hear that. Actually, I was thinking maybe I should thank him personally. Do you have his direct number? Elena pauses with her wine glass halfway to her lips. Why would you need his direct number? To schedule an appointment. To tell him how much better I'm feeling. I can handle scheduling your appointments, David. You know, phone calls make you anxious. They don't make me anxious anymore. I feel like I could handle just about anything right now. That's wonderful, honey. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Recovery is a process. After dinner, we walk to our car through the restaurant's parking lot. That's when I see it. Dr. Waverly's black Mercedes parked 3 spaces away from our car. Elena, I say casually, isn't that Dr. Waverly's car? She follows my gaze and her face goes pale. I wouldn't know. I've never seen his car. Really? Because the license plate says Psych MD. Seems pretty distinctive. Elena fumbles with her car keys. Maybe he's having dinner here too. It's a coincidence. Should we go say hello? I'd love to thank him in person. No! Elena's response is sharp enough to make a couple walking nearby turn and stare. I mean, we shouldn't interrupt his evening. That would be inappropriate. We drive home in silence. Elena keeps checking her phone, and I can practically see the gears turning in her head. She's trying to figure out how much I know and how much I suspect. The answer is I know everything, and I'm just getting started. Sunday morning, while Elena's at her yoga class, I make my first real move. I call Dr. Waverly's office and leave a message on his answering service. Hi, this is David Chen. I'm one of your patients, and I need to schedule an emergency appointment. I've been having some concerning symptoms, and my wife Elena suggested I call you directly. Please call me back as soon as possible. Then I sit back and wait. Dr. Waverly calls back within an hour. David, this is Dr. Waverly. I got your message. What kind of symptoms are you experiencing? Well, that's the thing. I'm not experiencing any symptoms. I feel completely normal. Clear-headed, focused, energetic. It's like I've been living in a fog for 2 years and suddenly I can see clearly. There's a long pause. David, feeling suddenly clear-headed can actually be a symptom of mania. Have you been taking your medication consistently? Every day, just like you prescribed. Good. I think we should schedule an appointment to discuss adjusting your dosage. This feeling of clarity you're experiencing could be dangerous if left untreated. Dangerous how? Manic episodes can lead to poor judgment, risky behavior, and paranoid thinking. You might start to believe that people are conspiring against you or that your medication is harming rather than helping you. That's interesting, because I've been thinking a lot about my medication lately, wondering what exactly I'm taking and why. Another pause. David, I want you to come in first thing Monday morning. Can Elena bring you? Actually, I was hoping to come alone. I feel like I should take more responsibility for my own medical care. I don't think that's advisable. Elena has been an important part of your care team, and her observations about your behavior are crucial for proper treatment. My care team? How long have you and Elena been working together on my case? David, you're starting to sound paranoid. This is exactly the kind of thinking I'm concerned about. I want you to take an extra dose of your evening medication tonight, and I want Elena to monitor you closely. Of course, Whatever you think is best, doctor. After I hang up, I immediately call Dr. Martinez. I just spoke with Dr. Waverly, I tell her. He wants to increase my medication because I'm feeling too clear-headed. That's extremely concerning, Mr. Chen. A legitimate psychiatrist would want to evaluate you in person before making any medication changes, especially if you're reporting improvement in your symptoms. What should I do? Document everything, record your conversations if possible, and whatever you do, don't take any more of those medications. That evening, Elena comes home from her yoga class with a concerned expression. Dr. Waverly called me. He said you spoke with him today and that you sounded manic. I felt fine during our conversation. David, that's exactly what I mean. People experiencing mania often don't recognize their own symptoms. Elena sits down next to me on the couch and takes my hand. Doctor Waverly thinks we should consider a brief inpatient stay to stabilize your medication. Inpatient, like in a psychiatric hospital? Just for a few days until we can find the right medication balance. It would be voluntary, of course. Voluntary. Sure it would be, until Elena petitioned the court for involuntary commitment based on Dr. Waverly's evaluation. I don't think that's necessary, I say, and I feel completely stable. That's what worries us, David. This sudden change in your mood and thinking patterns isn't normal for you. What if it is normal for me? What if the person I've been for the past 2 years isn't who I really am? Elena's grip on my hand tightens. David, you're scaring me. You're starting to sound like you did before we got your condition under control. What condition, Elena? What exactly is wrong with me? We've been through this. No, we haven't. You've told me what's wrong with me, but I've never actually understood it. Explain it to me now in detail. Elena stands up and starts pacing. You have major depressive disorder with psychotic features. You experience paranoid delusions, memory problems, and mood swings. Without medication, you become increasingly unstable and potentially dangerous. Dangerous to who? To yourself, to me, to the children. Have I ever hurt you or the children? Not physically, but have I ever threatened you or the children? David, psychological damage can be just as damaging as physical damage. What psychological damage have I caused? Elena stops pacing and stares at me. You're doing it right now. This interrogation, this refusal to accept your diagnosis, this paranoid questioning of people who are trying to help you. This is exactly the behavior that makes it impossible to have a normal family life. I stand up and walk to my office, returning with Dr. Martinez's psychiatric evaluation. I hand it to Elena without saying a word. She reads it twice, her face growing paler with each line. This is ridiculous, she finally says. Dr. Martinez doesn't know your history. She doesn't understand the complexity of your case. She spent 2 hours evaluating me and found no evidence of mental illness. David, you can't just doctor shop until you find someone who tells you what you want to hear. Is that what I'm doing? Or am I finally getting an honest medical opinion? Elena crumples up the evaluation and throws it in the trash. I'm calling Dr. Waverly. This delusion that there's nothing wrong with you is exactly what he warned me about. Go ahead and call him. But Elena? She pauses with her phone in her hand. I'm not taking any more medication, and if you try to force me or if you try to have me committed, I'm going to fight back. David, I'm not the same man you've been sedating for 2 years. I'm awake now and I remember how to protect myself. Elena stares at me for a long moment, then goes upstairs without another word. I retrieve Dr. Martinez's evaluation from the trash and smooth out the wrinkles. Then I lock it in my office safe, along with all the other evidence I've been gathering. Tomorrow, I start the real war. Monday morning, Elena leaves for work without saying goodbye. She's been making phone calls from the bedroom since 6 a.m., speaking in hushed tones that I can't quite make out through the door. But I don't need to hear her words to know what she's planning. The psychiatric hold, the emergency custody hearing, the final destruction of my credibility. What Elena doesn't know is that I've been planning too. After she leaves, I drive to the offices of Patterson and Associates, the law firm that handled my father's estate 5 years ago. Margaret Patterson is a sharp woman in her 60s who specializes in family law and has a reputation for taking on difficult cases. Mr. Chen, she says after I've explained my situation, what you're describing sounds like a coordinated effort to incapacitate you legally and medically. Do you have evidence? I hand her a folder containing everything I've gathered. The prescription bottles, the pharmacy receipts, the hotel keycard photos, Dr. Martinez's evaluation, and transcripts of my recorded conversations with Elena and Dr. Waverly. Margaret reviews the documents for 20 minutes, occasionally making notes or asking clarifying questions. When she finishes, she leans back in her chair and whistles softly. "This is one of the most elaborate cases of spousal misuse I've ever seen," she says. "Your wife and Dr. Waverly have essentially been conducting a slow-motion poisoning designed to make you appear mentally incompetent. Can we prove it? We can certainly try. But David, you need to understand that Elena is probably going to move fast once she realizes you're fighting back. She'll likely file for emergency custody today or tomorrow, claiming you're a danger to yourself and the children. What can we do to stop her? We get ahead of her. I'm going to file a restraining order against both Elena and Dr. Waverly, prohibiting them from administering any medication to you or discussing your medical care without your explicit consent. I'm also going to request an emergency custody hearing where we present your evidence. How long will that take? If we file today, we could have a hearing by Wednesday. But David, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Elena is going to paint you as a dangerous, delusional man who's off his medication and threatening his family. She's going to use every dirty trick in the book. Let her try. Margaret smiles grimly. I was hoping you'd say that. We spend the next 3 hours preparing our legal strategy. Margaret's paralegal helps me organize my evidence while Margaret drafts the necessary motions. By noon, we've filed for a restraining order, an emergency custody hearing, and a formal complaint with the State Medical Board against Dr. Waverly. Now comes the hard part, Margaret says. We wait. I don't have to wait long. Elena calls me at 2 p.m., and her voice is shaking with rage. What the hell do you think you're doing, David? I'm protecting myself and my children. You just filed a restraining order against me, your own wife, my wife who's been poisoning me for 2 years. That's insane, David. You're having a complete psychotic break. Am I? Or am I finally thinking clearly for the first time since you started sedating me? I'm coming home right now. We're going to settle this. Actually, you're not. The restraining order prohibits you from coming to the house or contacting me except through attorneys. Elena's silence stretches for nearly 30 seconds. When she speaks again, her voice is cold and controlled. You have no idea what you've just started. Yes, I do. I've started a war, and Elena, I'm going to win. She hangs up without another word. At 3 p.m., Margaret calls with an update. Elena's attorney just filed for an emergency psychiatric hold. They're claiming you're an imminent danger to yourself and others due to medication noncompliance. Can they do that? They can try. But Dr. Martinez has agreed to testify on your behalf, and we have her psychiatric evaluation showing that you're mentally competent. Plus, the judge will have to consider the evidence of medication tampering. What happens next? There's going to be a hearing tomorrow morning to determine whether the psychiatric hold should be granted. If we win, Elena's credibility takes a major hit. If we lose, I get locked up in a psychiatric hospital and pumped full of pills. Essentially, yes. That evening, I pick up Sophie and Max from their after-school programs. Elena has been calling their schools all day, trying to change their pickup authorization. But the restraining order prevents her from making unilateral decisions about the children's care. Dad, what's going on? Sophie asks as we drive home. Mom called me crying, saying you're sick and trying to hurt our family. Your mother and I are having some disagreements about my medical care, I tell her. I'm not sick, Sophie. I haven't been sick for a long time. But the pills were making me sick, not making me better. Max speaks up from the back seat. Does that mean you're going to be like you were this week all the time now? More awake and stuff? That's the plan, buddy. Good, Sophie says firmly. I like you better this way. That night, I tuck both kids into bed and try to explain what's going to happen without scaring them. There's going to be a court hearing tomorrow, I tell them. A judge is going to decide whether I'm healthy enough to take care of you guys. What if the judge says no, Max asks. Then you'll stay with your mother for a while, and I'll keep fighting to prove that I'm okay. But you are okay, Sophie insists. You're the most okay you've been in years. I know that, and you know that. Now I just have to convince a judge. Tuesday morning arrives gray and rainy, which feels appropriate for what's about to happen. Margaret meets me at the courthouse, an hour before the hearing, to review our strategy one final time. Remember, she says, Elena's going to try to provoke you. She wants you to appear angry, unstable, or paranoid. Stay calm, stick to the facts, and let the evidence speak for itself. The courtroom is smaller than I expected. Elena sits at the plaintiff's table with her attorney, a severe-looking man in an expensive suit. She's dressed conservatively and has clearly been crying, or at least wants to appear as if she's been crying. Dr. Waverly sits in the gallery behind Elena's table. He looks confident, almost smug, as if he's already certain of the outcome. Judge Patricia Hoffman is a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes. She reviews the case files for several minutes before looking up at the assembled attorneys. "This is an unusual case," she says. "We have a petition for emergency psychiatric hold based on medication noncompliance, but we also have allegations of medical malpractice and spousal misuse. I'm going to hear testimony from both sides before making my decision." Elena's attorney goes first. He paints a picture of a mentally ill man who has stopped taking his medication and become increasingly paranoid and delusional. "Your Honor," he says, "Chen has been under the care of Dr. Waverly for over 2 years for serious psychiatric conditions. His recent decision to stop taking his medication has resulted in a complete break from reality. He now believes that his wife and doctor have been conspiring against him, and he has become increasingly hostile and threatening." Elena takes the stand and delivers a performance worthy of an Oscar. She describes my deteriorating mental state, my paranoid accusations, and her fear for the children's safety. "David hasn't been himself for years," she says, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Waverly's treatment was helping, but now David refuses to acknowledge that he's ill. He's become angry and suspicious, and I'm terrified of what he might do. Dr. Waverly's testimony is clinical and authoritative. He describes my complex psychiatric conditions and warns about the dangers of medication noncompliance. Patients with Mr. Chen's diagnosis often experience anosognosia, a lack of insight into their own illness, he explains. They may feel better when they stop taking medication, but this feeling is actually a symptom of their underlying condition. Without proper treatment, Mr. Chen poses a significant risk to himself and others. When it's our turn, Margaret starts with Dr. Martinez. "Dr. Martinez," Margaret says, "you conducted a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation of Mr. Chen last weekend. What were your findings?" "I found no evidence of mental illness," Dr. Martinez says clearly. "Mr. Chen's cognitive function, mood, and thought processes were all within normal limits. If he were truly suffering from the conditions, Dr. Waverly has diagnosed, I would expect to see significant symptoms even after a brief period off medication. In your opinion, what could cause someone to appear mentally ill when they're actually healthy? Certain medications, particularly when used in combination or in inappropriate dosages, can cause cognitive impairment, confusion, and behavioral changes that mimic mental illness." Margaret introduces the prescription bottles, the pharmacy receipts, and the blood test results showing the dangerous pill combinations in my system. "Dr. Martinez, are these medications ever prescribed together?" "Never. The interaction between these pills can cause severe cognitive impairment. No responsible physician would prescribe this combination." When I take the stand, I keep Margaret's advice in mind. I speak calmly and factually, describing the timeline of my symptoms, the discovery of Elena's deception, and the dramatic improvement in my cognitive function since stopping the medications. "Your Honor," I say, "I'm not mentally ill. I've been systematically poisoned by my wife and her accomplice for 2 years. The evidence speaks for itself." Elena's attorney tries to rattle me during cross-examination, but I stay calm and stick to the facts. When he suggests that my accusations are proof of paranoid delusions, I simply point to the evidence. "These aren't delusions," I say. "These are documented facts. Prescription bottles with my name on them that I never knew existed. Hotel receipts proving my wife's affair with my supposed doctor. Blood tests showing dangerous pill levels in my system. This isn't paranoia. It's reality." Judge Hoffman recesses for an hour to review the evidence. When she returns, her expression is grave. "This court has reviewed all testimony and evidence presented today," she says. "The allegations against Dr. Waverly and Mrs. Chen are extremely serious and appear to be supported by substantial evidence. I am denying the petition for psychiatric hold and ordering an immediate investigation into Dr. Waverly's medical practices." Elena's face goes white. Dr. Waverly starts to stand up, then thinks better of it. "Furthermore," Judge Hoffman continues, "I am granting temporary custody of the minor children to Mr. Chen pending a full hearing on the allegations of spousal misuse and medical malpractice. Mrs. Chen will be allowed supervised visitation only. Elena's attorney immediately objects, but Judge Hoffman cuts him off. Counselor, your client stands accused of systematically poisoning her husband for 2 years. Until these allegations are fully investigated, I cannot, in good conscience, place minor children in her care. As we leave the courthouse, Elena tries to approach me, but Margaret steps between us. The restraining order is still in effect, Mrs. Chen. Any contact must go through attorneys. Elena stares at me with pure hatred in her eyes. This isn't over, David. Yes, it is, I replied. You just don't know it yet. That afternoon, I pick up Sophie and Max from school and take them home, in our real home where they belong. For the first time in 2 years, I feel like myself again. Clear-headed, focused, and ready for whatever comes next. Elena and Dr. Waverly thought they could destroy my life, steal my children, and get away with it. They were wrong. 3 months later, I'm standing in the same courthouse where my nightmare began to end, but this time I'm not the one on trial. Dr. Philip Waverly sits at the defendant's table in handcuffs. His medical license permanently revoked, facing charges of medical attack, conspiracy, and insurance fraud. The investigation that followed our custody hearing uncovered a pattern of misuse spanning 5 years and involving 12 other patients. Elena sits in the gallery, no longer the polished attorney who once commanded respect in this building. She's been disbarred pending the outcome of her own criminal trial, and the stress has aged her visibly. Her designer suits have been replaced by off-the-rack clothing, and her perfect hair shows gray roots she can no longer afford to maintain. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Janet Morrison, is methodically destroying Dr. Waverly's defense. She presents evidence of the unnecessary prescriptions, the falsified medical records, and the kickbacks he received from pharmaceutical companies for prescribing certain medications. Dr. Waverly didn't just betray his oath as a physician, Morrison tells the jury. He weaponized medicine itself, turning healing into damage for personal and financial gain. The testimony from his other sufferers is devastating. An elderly woman whose family was convinced she had dementia until a new doctor discovered she was being over-medicated. A businessman whose wife had him declared incompetent so she could access his business accounts. A teacher who lost her job because medications were making her appear unstable. I testify on the third day of the trial. The courtroom is packed with reporters, other sufferers' families, and medical professionals who want to see justice served. Mr. Chen, Morrison asks, can you describe the impact Dr. Waverly's actions had on your life? He stole 2 years from me, I say, looking directly at Waverly. 2 years of my children's lives that I'll never get back. 2 years of memories that are forever clouded by the substances he forced into my system. He didn't just attack my body. He attacked my mind, my identity, my relationship with my children. How has your life changed since stopping the medications? I got my life back. I'm present for my children again. I can work, think clearly, make decisions. I remember what it feels like to be myself. Waverly's defense attorney tries to paint me as a vindictive ex-patient seeking revenge, but the evidence is overwhelming. The jury deliberates for less than 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Judge Hoffman sentences Waverly to 8 years in federal prison and orders him to pay restitution to all his sufferers. As the bailiff leads him away, Waverly finally looks in my direction. I see fear in his eyes for the first time, and I realize that he's finally understanding the magnitude of what he's done. Elena's trial is scheduled for next month, but her attorney has already approached Margaret about a plea deal. The evidence against her is just as damning as what convicted Waverly. The recorded conversations, the hotel receipts, the prescription bottles she collected without my knowledge. She's looking at 3 to 5 years if she pleads guilty, Margaret tells me as we leave the courthouse. Conspiracy, insurance fraud, and spousal misuse. What if she doesn't take the plea? Then we go to trial. And she's looking at 8 to 10 years. The prosecutor has her dead to rights. I think about Elena sitting in a prison cell, and I'm surprised to find that I don't feel the satisfaction I expected. Mostly, I feel tired. Tired of fighting, tired of anger, tired of looking backward instead of forward. I just want it to be over, I tell Margaret. It will be soon. And David, you should be proud of what you've accomplished. You didn't just save yourself. You saved 11 other people from the same fate. That evening, I'm at home with Sophie and Max, helping them with homework at the kitchen table, where Elena used to hand me my daily pills. The kids have adjusted well to our new normal. Sophie is getting straight A's again, and Max's anxiety has improved dramatically since Elena moved out. Dad, Sophie says, looking up from her history assignment, are you happy that Dr. Waverly is going to prison? I'm happy that justice was served, I tell her. I'm happy that he can't hurt anyone else. What about Mom? This is the question I've been dreading. Despite everything Elena did to me, she's still their mother. The kids have been seeing a therapist to help them process the situation, but still complicated. I'm sad about your mom, I say honestly. I'm sad that she made choices that hurt our family, but I'm not happy about anyone going to prison. Do you think she'll ever say she's sorry? Max asks. I don't know, buddy. Sometimes people do things that are so wrong that saying sorry isn't enough. But you forgive her, all right? I pause, considering my answer carefully. Forgiveness is complicated, Max. What your mother did was very serious, and it hurt a lot of people. I'm working on letting go of my anger, but that's different from forgiveness. Sophie nods thoughtfully. I think I understand. You don't have to forgive someone to move on with your life. That's very wise, Sophie. Later that night, after the kids are in bed, I sit in my office looking at a letter that arrived in today's mail. It's from Elena, written from the county jail where she's being held pending her trial. David, it begins, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to try to explain. I never meant for things to go as far as they did. It started as a way to make you more manageable, less argumentative about household decisions. Philip convinced me that a little medication would help with your stress and make our marriage easier. I didn't realize how much it was affecting you until it was too late to stop. I read the letter twice, then put it in my desk drawer without responding. Elena's explanation doesn't change anything. Intent doesn't matter when the result is 2 years of stolen life and traumatized children. My phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. It's Dr. Martinez, calling with the results of my latest blood work. Everything looks perfect, David, she says. No trace of any of the medications you were given, and all your cognitive function tests are normal. How are you feeling? Like myself again. Good. I think we can space out your appointments to every 6 months now, just to monitor your continued recovery. Dr. Martinez, I wanted to thank you. If you hadn't taken my case seriously, you don't need to thank me, David. I just did my job. You're the one who fought for your life and your children. After hanging up, I walk through the house, checking locks and turning off lights. This house feels like home again, now that Elena's presence is gone. The kids' laughter echoes in the hallways, and there's no underlying tension in the air. In the master bedroom, I've replaced all the furniture that Elena and I shared. The bed where she used to lie next to me while planning my destruction is gone, replaced with a simple setup that's mine alone. On the nightstand where my pill organizer used to sit, there's now just a lamp, a book, and a photo of Sophie and Max. As I get ready for bed, I catch sight of myself in the bathroom mirror. I look different than I did 6 months ago. Healthier, more alert, more alive. The man staring back at me is the person I was before Elena and Waverly tried to erase him. Tomorrow I have a meeting with a reporter from the Hartford Courant who's writing a story about medical misuse and patient advocacy. Next week, I'm speaking at a conference for psychiatrists about the importance of patient consent and medical ethics. Margaret thinks I should consider writing a book about my experience. You have a platform now, she told me. You could help other people recognize the signs of medical misuse. Maybe she's right. Maybe something good can come from the hell Elena and Waverly put me through. I set my alarm for 7 a.m., no more sleeping until noon because I'm too sedated to function. No more stumbling through my days in a chemical haze. No more being told I'm crazy when I'm actually the sanest person in the room. As I drift off to sleep, I think about the conversation I had with Sophie earlier. She asked if I was happy that justice was served, and I told her I was. But the truth is more complicated than that. I'm not happy about any of this. I'm not happy that my marriage failed, that my children had to witness their mother's arrest, that 12 other families went through similar trauma. I'm not happy that Elena will spend the next few years in prison or that Waverly's medical career is over, but I am satisfied. Satisfied that the truth came out. Satisfied that Elena and Waverly will face consequences for their actions. Satisfied that no one else will suffer the way I did. Most importantly, I'm grateful. Grateful that I trusted my instincts when something felt wrong. Grateful that Dr. Martinez took my case seriously. Grateful that Margaret fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. Grateful that my children still love and trust me despite everything they've been through. 6 months ago, I was a zombie, shuffling through life at the mercy of people who claimed to love me. Tonight, I'm a father tucking his children into bed in a house where they're safe and loved. Elena and Doctor. Waverly thought they could steal my life, my mind, and my children. They were wrong.
그 사람도 등산했어, 경찰분도? 잡으러 갔다가 못 쳤어. 멧돼지로 변신했지. 지랄. 예, 치킨 마요 덮밥씨. 요즘 등산 가거든요.
치킨 마요도 밥 들어왔어?
지금
형님.
청계의 맨몸 등산님. 예.
형님 청계하면 맨몸 등산이긴 함. 남한산성.
메이크 잠바 입었죠?
뭐래?
몰라. 할 말이 없나 봐. 잠바 얘기.
형님 뭐 잠바에서 브랜드예요?
제가 그런가 봐. 추천 한 번씩만 눌러줘요.
야, 여기서 좀 천천히 걸어야 돼. 영상.
너 뭐라 하는지 안 들린대.
어?
안 들린대. 너 뭐라 하는지. 지금 말해.
형님 청계 싸봐요.
예, 팬티만 입고 등산님.
진지하게.
그리고 중간에 제로투도 쳐줌.
그건 없었던 것 같아.
있었어, 씨발로 봐. 고겸람죄로 벌금이 더 셀걸?
그래? 형 지금 이 시간에 산탄산 아무도 없어요.
저희만 타요, 저희만. 추천 한 번만 눌러줘요, 마요 덮밥씨.
형들 그리고 지금 남한산성에 뱀 존나 많은 거 아시죠? 뱀들 자고 있거든요. 500개 쏘면 뱀 땅굴에다가 발 존나 착해요. 그거 플러스 벌집 존나 많거든요. 벌집 제가 손수 뜯어볼게요. 진지하게.
병원비가 더 나오겠다, 병원비가. 씨발 입고 언제 가? 나비 뭐했다.
아 무릎 왜 이렇게 아프냐? 아까 그 고양 자세 때문에.
그러니까 딛고 씨발. 왜 한마디 해. 한 번 더 해주세요.
형님들 지금 오신 분들 추천 한 번씩만 부탁드릴게요.
예, 추천 누르면
누르는 거지 뭐.
누르는 거지. 씨발, 야 이러고 나가는 건 뭐 너무한 거 아니야?
나왔어?
응.
어쩌다 돈도 없는 새끼.